Alright, so for today's video, we are taking a look at the Wiha and the Marvel cross-cut pliers. I figured I'd do a little comparison video between the two. We'll start off the video here by taking a look at both of the pliers. So as you can see, there are quite a few differences between the two pliers. One being made in Japan, the other being made in Vietnam, and the Wihas are featuring the VDE 1000 volt rated handles. So if you are, working around something live, or maybe working on something live, then the Wihas are going to be probably the tool you're going to want to use, whereas the Marvels don't offer that kind of protection. It's more of just kind of the cross-cut plier. And the Marvels here have that harder plastic dip style of handles, whereas the Wihas back here have that more traditional comfort grip style, where it's that soft rubber, not as hard of a plastic in your hands. But I do like the Marvels, how they have that grip right here. Kind of gives you a nice firm grip. You don't really have to worry about them slipping out of your hand as easy. But the one thing that I do also like about the Wihas is these little stops here at the top, so that do prevent the plier from slipping out of your hands. That is quite a nice feature. Now, both of these do feature a crimper right there on the tool. As you can see, they both feature the crimper, and they're relatively almost the exact same design. They're just made in two different places by two different manufacturers, but the design is relatively the same. Now, when it comes to the Wihas, these are a 9-inch pair of pliers, so you get an extra inch out of the length of the handles, whereas the Marvels, they are an 8-inch pair. So if you are looking for a little bit longer of a handle and you are able to get a hold of both of these, you might want to choose the Wihas. But I personally would choose the Marvels. That's just me. Now, when it comes to availability on both of these pliers, the Wihas are, from what I have been able to find, are really relatively exclusive to the Australian market. So they are quite hard to get your hands on them, whereas the Marvels, they are heavily sold in the Australian market, but you can find them from multiple sellers over in Japan that'll be happy to ship them over to you. So they are a little bit easier to find. Now, when I first came across these Marvel crosscuts, I actually was able to purchase them on Amazon, and I believe I left a link to them in my original review of the Marvels. But I don't believe that they are available on Amazon anymore. So if you are looking to get a pair of the Marvel crosscuts, you're going to have to head on over to eBay. So there is that. They are a little bit trickier to get a hold of. But personally, I prefer the Marvel over the Wiha. But that's just me, just because it's super easy to get a hold of. You don't really have to pay that crazy of a price to get them. And they relatively do the same job. Just the one plus about the Wihas, though, is that they are insulated. But they do both function relatively the same. They do cut through wire relatively easily. So we just got some 12-2 Romex right here. As you can see, the Marvels have no problem cutting through some Romex, as well as the Wihas aren't going to have any problems doing it. Now, it is a little bit nicer to have those longer handles. You can get a little bit more leverage to cut through some thicker gauge wire or multiple conductors at a time, which is nice. But both of them have no problem cutting a conductor. And they also do leave a nice clean cut, which I really like about the cross-cut pliers, is they leave, it's more of a shearing action than a pinching action, so you get a lot cleaner of a cut. You don't really have those jagged edges on the wire. So that was with some Romex, and they'll do the exact same thing with just, your normal stranded wire. They don't have any issue cutting through that. And again, we'll go at it with the Marvels as well. They don't have any issue cutting through any conductors. Now, I've been using these Marvels, just kind of messing around and using them here and there. So the cutting edge, if we can get the camera to focus here, isn't exactly the most perfect cutting edge in the world. I just can't get the camera to focus here. So the cutting edge isn't, the most perfect thing in the world. You can see some nicks and things and stuff like that on the cutting edge, but they still work just as well as a brand new pair of pliers, and they work just as well as the Wihas, and both are very good when it comes to stripping wire. You just gotta be very careful when you strip wire with the crosscut pair of pliers. It's gonna take some getting used to. The first few times you do it, you don't want to dig too deep into that insulation and end up nicking the wire. But as you saw right there, the marbles have no problem cutting through and stripping that insulation. And then we'll give it the Wihas a go as well. And again, they have no problem getting through that insulation on that 12 AWG stranded wire. Now, if you're looking for a pair of pliers that that opens up fairly large, we'll go ahead and take a look at there. So that is about as wide as the Wihas will go. Go ahead and get that guy out of there, and then the marbles will open up to about there. So the opening radius is pretty much the same on them. It just, honestly, like I said, it comes down to which one you can easily get your hands on. So they are both a good pair of pliers. Now, the marbles are going to close up a lot easier than these Wihas. As you can see, these ones are quite stiff when you open them up all the way, whereas the marbles, it's just kind of a smooth close to close them up. So overall, these are both a fantastic pair of pliers. I just wish it was a lot easier for us here in the U.S. market to get our hands on them, because I feel that they are, they're a very good pair of pliers and could make a difference if they were introduced into the U.S. market. Whereas the traditional pair of pliers that is an alternative to this, it would be just your standard pair of linesman pliers. Electricians and pretty much every trades always has a pair of lineman pliers on them. And you don't necessarily always need that big bulky head for cutting screws and things like that. Yes, that's what a good pair of linesman pliers is for. But you don't always necessarily need that. And I find the cross cuts are a good alternative to a pair of linesman pliers. They almost have the same function, they just don't have that giant head and the ability to cut screws, but other than that, they can perform just as much the same function, I feel, but that's just my opinion. So with that being said, that's all I have for this video. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting that subscribe button, but that's all I have.